Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video we are doing an encapsulated nail foil design and we're going to be working with acrylic in this video. So I have left everything in real time minus the crystal application. So I hope you all enjoy watching. I'm going to be using two core colours from CJP. Milky Pink here I have added just a teeny tiny bit of white acrylic to, so it does look a little bit whiter than if you purchase it from CJP. I'm going to be using my Diamond Nail Supplies Clarity to encapsulate with, and for everything to do with foils I'm going to be using Kiki London. So I have their foil gel. I'm also going to be using one of their marble mix foils, and as well as that I'm going to be using the no wipe top coat, the no wipe rubber top coat, because we're going to be applying a crystal, so I always opt for a rubber top coat to apply my crystals with. But let's go right back to the start of the design, and we're coming in on a clear base using that CJP Milky Pink. So you're not actually going to be seeing any of this acrylic color because this is where we're going to be placing our foil. But what I want to do is place down a base colour for my foil, and as we're using a white marble foil I thought it would be best to pop down a white acrylic. Ideally when you're doing any kind of foil design I always find it best to pop down a coloured acrylic or a coloured gel polish that's going to match your foil. This way if you get any imperfections in your foil application it's quite hard to see them because you've got the colour underneath. Now as we're going to be doing a bit of a foil ombre design I'm going to blend this colour back a little bit, but I'm not stressing too much because we are actually going to be covering up a lot of that blend area with the crystals anyway. But we're just blending it back, and this is only a really thin layer of white acrylic. I'm not building up any thickness or anything like that. The one thing that I didn't do on this design that I usually do when I'm doing any kind of foil encapsulation is I usually would buff over the white acrylic, but I didn't do that step and it did mess up my application a little bit. Like my foil application didn't go as good as what it normally does. But here you can see I'm just coming in with that foil gel and applying this to that white acrylic. I did wait until that white acrylic had fully dried before doing this. Then once that's cured, I'm going to cut out a piece of my foil and we're going to press this down into the tacky foil gel. I'm kind of just lining the foil up and finding an area of the foil that I want to use. I really wanted a lot of that orangey red marble to show through. And then once you are happy with how it's lined up, you want to start pressing and rubbing the foil down. And this is where I could feel my acrylic application was a little bit uneven in places. And if I'd buffed over it, it would have been a lot smoother. And then the foil would just have applied a lot nicer. So I'm just really giving this a good rub to make sure that it's making a really good contact with that nail, which is a little bit tricky when you're working on a display hand because my tip just wanted to move around. So I'm having to hold the tip in place with my thumb and hand and then apply the foil with the other hand. It was a little bit tricky. So here I'm slowly peeling that foil back, and any areas that haven't fully transferred I'm just pressing it down and making sure that I get full foil coverage on those areas. Around this side here I didn't notice that I hadn't got good application, so I'm just going to come back in with that foil and press it down just to cover up as much as that tip as possible with the marble design. I don't think I would have struggled as much. I don't ever usually struggle with foils, to be honest. They're one of the things that I feel as though I finally cracked how to apply them. I just feel as though the application wasn't great on this because I was working on a bit of an uneven surface. But once I've got that foil applied, I'm going to come in with my Kiki London top coat and seal that foil in. This way, once you've got that layer of top coat over the top, you're not going to melt down or remove any of that foil when you're applying your acrylic. Sometimes what can happen with certain foils is when the monomer on your acrylic brush touches the foil, it breaks down the pattern a little bit. So by just applying a thin coat of top coat, it eliminates that. Now here was a bit of a mistake I made again. I opted to use CJP Obsession for this set, and I picked this colour out before I sort of fully had a design in mind. I just picked out this core colour and I really wanted to use it because I love this core colour. It's such a beautiful shade. However, it is a little bit on the sheer side, and that foil underneath, as you can see, it's got quite a bold line where that foil finishes, and this color just did not cover it up as well as I wanted it to. So it doesn't matter particularly for this design, because I had this design in mind. I knew that I was going to be coming in with crystals, but I do usually, whenever I'm doing any kind of ombre, I do still like to get my ombre underneath as nice as possible. So if I was to redo this design, I would just use a more opaque core color. As you can see here now though, I'm coming in with my larger bead of acrylic. I've placed this down at the cuticle area. I'm using the tip of my brush to get this as close to that cuticle area as possible. And it's a little hard to see from the angle, but I am also pointing the thumb now downwards. This way it's going to help pull that acrylic down towards the tip. It's going to stop any of that acrylic sort of running back and going into that cuticle area. And then just with really light strokes, I'm keeping everything nice and neat around that cuticle and sidewall area, and then also just patting and pressing my acrylic into place, keeping the bulk of it in that back third, because I'm also building up my apex area of this bead of acrylic, and then I'm starting to blend just the top of that bead of acrylic down over the foil. I don't actually want to blend too much of it down because I don't want to cover up too much of that foil, but because it is quite a sheer acrylic color, if you're pulling down a thin layer of it, you're not actually going to lose too much of the vibrancy from the foil. But here what I'm doing is I'm just taking my wet brush and cleaning off some of that excess acrylic. I'm always going in as well with my brush with very light strokes just to make sure my application is neat as possible. And on this particular nail, I was really happy with my cuticle and apex application with that bead of acrylic. Now I am going to come in with the Diamond Nail Supplies Clarity here just to encapsulate the rest of that nail. So I want to make sure I fully encapsulated in my foil. I want to make sure that I'm building up the rest of the thickness and the strength and the structure of the nail, and this is also going to protect that blend that you've created using the Obsession color as well. So as you can see, I've built up that, and then I'm just coming in again with nice light feathery strokes, trying to get everything as even and as smoothly as applied as possible, because then this way you're going to have less finish filing to do. So here you can see I'm just really using my brush whilst that acrylic is still wet enough to mold into place, and then I'm just checking the nail from all areas to make sure I'm happy with how it was encapsulated. The tip of the nail was looking a little bit thin here, so I did pick up another small bead of clear acrylic, and I'm going to place that down right at the tip of the nail, pat it into place, and then flip my brush in reverse and blend this back, just because the very tip of the nail was looking a little bit thin, and sometimes I like to have enough acrylic there that I can do my filing and get a really nice crisp shape with. Speaking of filing, I did do all of the filing and buffing off camera, and I made sure to clean all of the dust away. Then we're going to come in and top coat. So I'm top coating with the No White rubber top coat because I'm going to apply my crystals into this top coat, and this is where you can really see that core color, the CJP Obsession, just did not create a nice enough blend with the foil. I have done quite a few encapsulated foil ombre videos up on the channel, and usually if you opt for a more opaque coverage, you can create a really nice blend over your foils. Gosh, I'm really struggling to get my words out today. So yeah, this particular one, I knew I was coming in with crystals, so I didn't swap anything out. But I now do know that if I'm gonna do any kind of ombre where I'm wanting to cover up more of the line where one color finishes, I will definitely opt for a more opaque shade. So now that I've got my top coat applied, I haven't popped this into cure yet. I'm going to come in and apply my crystals into that No White rubber top coat, and I find this brilliant for applying any kind of flat back crystals. If I was using, say, this larger butterfly one on my own nails, I probably would use a little bit of jewelry gel with that No White rubber top coat just because it is on the large size. But because I'm just working on a practice hand, I did just use the rubber top coat because this is what I predominantly apply all of my flat back crystals with, and I find it holds them in place brilliantly. So all I'm doing here is I've got that large butterfly crystal and I've placed that down in the center of the nail, and I'm predominantly working around that. Then with the AB crystals, these ones are from Kiki London, and they have, I think, around 5 or 6 different sizes, and I'm just just picking up a mix of larger ones to begin with and getting them close to the sides of the butterfly, and then I'm just coming out with some smaller ones towards the edges. So as we get up close to that cuticle area and down towards the sidewall, I just want the crystals to kind of swoosh out, because I didn't want to just pop the butterfly down and then it just be there in the center of the nail. And I really liked how this particular crystal look come out. It looks very over the top, but I think it just looks really, really fun. It's really pretty, and it's got a hint of spring to it as well. So as you can see, I just pick those crystals up using the waxy end of my Kiki London tool, and then I'm going to just nudge them into place with my dotting tool. I'm really sorry if you heard my little puppy or my little dog growling in the background there. He's just heard our neighbour's dog start barking and he's asleep, so he's just doing some growling in his sleep, bless him. So as you can see here, once I'm then happy with how those crystals applied, I'm just rooting through and looking for some really smaller ones that I can fill into some of the gaps and bring off the edges a little bit, just because I quite like how that looks, where your crystals sort of fade out into smaller crystals. Then once you are happy with how they are all applied, before popping this one into cure, I just touched up my top coat a little bit, where I'd nudge those crystals around a lot just to make sure it was super smooth. You can also do this with a small detail brush if you're not confident doing it with your larger bottle brush, because you do want to make sure that you're not getting any of that gel top coat on the top of your crystals. Then I popped that into cure, and this is the finished result. I really thought this was super pretty and a little bit out there with the crystals for me anyway. So do let me know in the comments below what you thought of today's design. I hope you all enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for checking out today's video. If you did enjoy it, please do give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment below, and I will see you all again in the next one. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.